Roman Szmal. This is the palette we're taking on today. Made with linden honey and from Poland. And wait till you see this baby. I have 100 colors in here. Yeah, I know it's quite crazy, obsessive, way too many paints. I have a few openings still left. I jam-packed them in here, and I'm going to put up a couple of clips where you can see me basically pull this whole thing apart. I gutted out the insides, went ahead and put sticky tack underneath all of them, and basically that way you can put paints in both sides and it fits pretty perfectly. I did use a couple of popsicle sticks in the corners there so that it just kind of packs it in there very nicely. So it's going to be a long haul today. I have the chart all made, and we are going to go ahead and swatch every single one of these. So if you ever wanted to compare some of the colors that seemed a little closer looking online, here we go. We're going to be using the Escoda Perla 8, which I've really been liking for my swatching. I just dropped some water on my page as usual. Nothing can be perfect. And if these paints look slightly out of order, it's because I kind of skipped a row. I'm going to have to put a few blues at the bottom instead of having everything kind of be perfect. But that's the way things go, right? So our first up is Quinacridone Red, PV19. And I have to say, these paints, for their price, are absolutely fantastic. They definitely run with the big dogs here. Being honey-based, of course, they re-wet like a dream. You can see how nice and transparent this one is. Then we go PR209 with Cherry Red. Some of these reds do look a little similar. Aquarius Red, PR214. I tried to make the squares not too big and get it all on one page just so that we weren't here forever today. So in this palette, 106 colors fit if you rip it apart like I did. Aquarius Red is really pretty. Scarlet Lake, PR188. And hopefully I can keep all this swatching consistent and not accidentally grab the wrong color, since I kind of messed up my order slightly. Pyro Red, PR254. These re-wet so easily. They are not pre-wet. Really pretty. And Scarlet Red. PR188. They have, in Roman Szmal, they have lots of colors that are named similar. Like, there will be more than just the scarlet named Scarlet, which we will get to in just a second. Let's see if we can move this over just a little bitty. And we go into Ginger Red. This one actually is very orange looking, PR290. And this is my largest palette. It's a very nice earthy looking red. Azo Red, PR 144. This is one of their newer colors, or newer to me. Really nice red. And then we have Quinacridone Scarlet. And you can see how the names kind of repeat themselves, so it's quite easy to get confused. Really beautiful though. And they did not have a pigment info written down on this one. I don't know why. Beautiful. And this next one is a complete mouthful. Anthrac, yeah, red. So that one is a tongue twister. But gorgeous color, PR 168. Really beautiful. Alizarin Crimson, permanent, PR 176. Hopefully you don't mind me swatching a little faster. Help us get through 100 colors in a reasonable amount of time with you still getting to see every single one that I have in one setting. Perline Maroon, PR 179. Oops. I had dropped my brush. Perline Violet, PV 29. This is so pretty. I love the muted violets. And Quin Violet, or Quinacridone Violet, PV 19. One of my classic favorites. We will take a closer look when these are all dry. Potter's Pink, PR 233. And I'm using my normal swatching paper, Saunders Waterford, hot pressed. This Potter's Pink tends to be a little pinkier, I feel, than some of the other ones that are out there by other brands. Quinacridone Magenta, PR 122. Very vivid, very brilliant. Quinacridone Pink, PR 122 as well. These two are quite close in color. The magenta, I would say, is just a little bit deeper. And a hair redder, just a hair redder on that one. Quinacridone purple. These are all kind of lined up on the chart online. And PV55. And it's kind of nice to see them directly next to each other. And this one has just a tiny bit more of the purple to it. Manganese violet, PV16. Mineral violet, PV29, PV19. Let's get a little water, see if we can get that one to do its thing. I know the squares are a little small. Lavender, this is going to be a mouthful. PV29, PW6, a PV16. And look at that opacity. It's covering that right up. Heavy duty opacity on that one. Then we have Shadow Violet, PB29, PV19, PG50. Oops, just dipped in the wrong one. It's hard when you have so many colors lined up here. This color is gorgeous. Everything they say about it is true. Beautiful muted color. Misty Morning, PV19, PG50. Hopefully it's nice to see these two right next to each other. You can see sometimes the swatches online make them look more similar than they are. Very pretty as well. Then we go into one of our well-known French ultramarine, PB29. Very classic. And let's see how it looks next to its partner of ultramarine and tints. And PB29 as well. And this is a lot more vivid. I hope that's showing up on camera. And Phthalo Blue Red Shade, PB 15.6. Brilliant, vibrant. And we have lovely Prussian, PB 27. Heavy duty saturation. All these colors have a really nice amount of pigment to them. Very easy to paint with. Indanthrone, PB 60. Vivianite. This is kind of an unusual one. I have a couple others from other companies. This one is very gray. But it re-wets like a dream. I know some don't. They're a little harder to re-wet. Very pretty though. Kind of reminds me of like a stormy sky. Then we have Ocean Blue, PB 15:3 and PBR 24. And this is the place where I kind of skipped a few of the blue colors, so you'll see those towards the end. We kind of go into the blue greens now, because I'm far from perfect. And I made the chart and I figure I'll just go with the chart that I made and put them at the end instead of remaking it. Phthalo Turquoise, PB 16. It's nice to see the ocean blue, and we'll be looking at the sea blue soon too, all the turquoises, so that you can see if there's one that stands out to you. Sea blue, PB 28. This is brilliant. Very pretty. Then we have Cobalt Turquoise, PB 36. Very pretty as well. I just love a good turquoise though. We got Transparent Turquoise, PB 15.3 or :3 and PG 7. You can see the phthalo in this one. Very vibrant. And Cobalt Teal. This one's very close to the sea blue, but this one is a little bit greener with PG 50. But I don't think you'd need both of them. I think the sea blue or the cobalt teal, they're pretty close. This one's a tiny bit more opaque than the other as well, than the sea blue. Now for a nice bright color, we have a phthalo green blue shade, PG 7. If you hear the kitty in the background, she's I think trying to get my attention. Perling green, PBK 31. Cobalt green deep, PG 26. Phthalo green yellow shade, PG 36. Very vibrant. And the last in this row is PG 17 with chrome green oxide. Usually has a little opacity to it. I hope by me writing underneath here you can see the opacity on the colors quite easily if they cover up the numbers or if we can still see them through. We go into sap green, PG 7, PY 150. It is a very vibrant sap green. Permanent green light, PG 7, PY 154. Hooker's green, PB 27, PY 150. This has a very kind of natural warm feeling about it. I like this Hooker's green a lot. One of my favorites. Aquarius green, PB 29, PY 150, and PBR 25. And this one kind of has an olivey feel to it, but like a dark warm. Very good color. Gets really nice and dark too for those shadow greens. And then we have autumn green. PR122, PG26, PY150. This is one of their newer colors. I think this one and the Aquarius green next to it go so well together. Very pretty. It has like a glow, an underneath glow on it. Sap Green Light. PG7 and PY110. Nice and vibrant. A little more subtle than the permanent green light though. A lot more subtle actually. And then we have olive green light, which let's just move this over a little bit. And this is going to be a mouthful. PB29, PY129, PY150, PBR25. But the color is gorgeous. It's a very yellowy, light olive green. And for our last green, we have Deep Green Gold, PY129. And I think between the last color and this color, you don't need both. You could definitely get away with one or the other. The olive green is obviously just a little bit darker, and this one's a little more yellow. One's the yellow light, PY3. And we are past the halfway mark. I know, I should have told you to get a snack, get a beverage, put your feet up. Cadmium Lemon, PY35. Just gotta switch around my waters here. Make sure we got the clean one going into these lights. Nice, crisp, clean yellow. Not too opaque. With a double layer a little bit. Aquarius yellow, PY168. This has a lot more warmth to it. Cadmium Yellow Deep, PY37. And for anyone who's watched my swatching videos, I do put all the yellows down with the natural kind of yellow-based tones. It's just how I tend to mix. Indian yellow, PY108. Probably could have switched around those two colors in this chart, but you know, I always make a couple of mistakes. Nickel Azo PY 150. And I have, if you look next to it, the exact same color. But I had gotten them at 2 different times, and they were marked with 2 different, like, order numbers. And I could only find the one pigment info. So I don't know if they changed the formula or changed the consistency or something, but this one looks lighter than the next one. And the next is also Nickel Azo, and they look completely different in the pans as well. They're looking pretty close here. This one feels a little like thicker, like the consistency is different. Maybe not the color, but the consistency feels a little different. And that could just be the different batches or something to that effect. And we're to Quinn Gold Hue, PR 102, PY 150. And I notice that they did get the original one back in stock. And I'm totally all over that one. This one feels a little, this hue feels a little orangey. Sorry if you hear the kitty in the background. She's doing her purring, her miscellaneous. Naples Yellow Light, PW4, PY53, PBR24. I'd like to get my hands on a natural Naples to compare. And this one's a mouthful, but in its name, Mon Ami Natural Sienna, PBR7. And we're going to be looking at quite a few Siennas. This one is so pretty. So nice and neutral. Very beautiful. Venetian Yellow Earth, PY43. And the next few are all PY43, if you can see them all lined up there. And we'll compare all of them. This one's pretty neutral, slightly on the yellow side. Now we go to Yellow Ochre, PY43 as well. Sorry if you can hear the truck outside. It's garbage day here. This is the Yellow Ochre. A little bit deeper than the Venetian one. Gold Ochre, PY43. I've always got to have a phone go off or something. I think every video that I have has some kind of phone go off or buzzer go off. And this one's a little bit deeper, a little bit more golden. Havana Ochre, PY43 as well. This is a favorite of mine. Dark Ochre, PY43. Hopefully you can see the differences on camera in those. I don't think you need all of them. By far, maybe one. And we go into Naples Yellow Red, PW4, PY53, PBR24, PR264, and PBR24. And I think that's the one with the most pigments, at least in my setup here. Very opaque. Cover those right up. Cadmium Orange, PO20. This is a beautiful, brilliant, vibrant orange. I always put my oranges in with my browns. Then we have Permanent Orange, which is our PO59. It's very close to, let me scoot this over so we can see. It's very close to the Cadmium Yellow Deep. This one is just a tad bit oranger. Then we have French Ochre. PY43, another one, PY43. I think that'll be our last though. This one has a little bit more of a red to it. It's amazing, out of the same pigment, how many colors they can get just by processing it different or running it through a certain machine. PBR11 with Aquarius Brown. This is a very in the middle brown. Not tremendously red, not tremendously yellow. Maybe a tiny bit on the red side. It's looking a lot redder on camera than it actually is. Then we have Red Ochre, PR102. And we're going to see a whole bunch of 102s and 101s now as we go into these very fiery kind of colors, fiery browns. Now you can kind of see that how much that the Aquarius brown is a lot more brown than it is red with the red ochre next to it. Nice and transparent though. Mummy Red Transparent, PR 102. And this one is very similar to the red ochre that was just before it. I hope you can see the differences on camera. Then we go Mars Red, PR 101. Very opaque. Let's see if we can get a little difference in there. It went down very heavy duty, very thick. Venetian, PR 102. A lot more transparent than the one right before it. English Red Deep, PR 102 as well. I tried to group them in numbers a little bit on my sheets so that you could see the comparisons. Sometimes the only way you can tell how they're different if they're right next to each other. And we will take the tape off and look closer. This one's definitely redder than the two before it. And look how orangey these actually look compared to. Hematite, PR 102. A lot more brown, very opaque. Now we're going to get into a little Siennas going here. With Italian Burnt Sienna, PBR 7. And Roman Szmal does have quite a few burnt siennas. Blue Ridge Burnt Sienna. And that's also PBR 7. This one is a little bit more red than the Italian one right next to it. And then we go into quinacridone burnt sienna. I always put my abbreviations on the sheet. PO48. A lot more orange. Very pretty. Transparent brown, PBR 23. Very reddish, rich brown. I have a cat hair. There we go. Brown ochre, PBR 7. Really nice neutral brown. Gothalite, and it's a natural pigment, so there wasn't any pigment information on that. A light neutral brown. I've seen that pigment go a lot darker though. Transparent oxide brown, PR 101. Really pretty. It's about a mid brown all the way around. A hair out to the warm side. Then we go into Cypress Raw Umber Brown. Now, they have a lot of raw umbers, so you really kind of got to pay attention, and I think a lot of the numbers are different too. This is PBR 7. It's that similar name thing that I was mentioning earlier. I love me warm browns. This one's a little bit deeper. Cypress Burnt Umber, PBR 7 as well. And I think I just switched these two pigments. This is the raw, and the one next to it is the burnt. Burnt and raw. Both PG7. Of course, I've got to do, several things wrong. So I switched those two. I'll write those in after they dry. German Raw Green Umber, PBR7 as well. And this one has a lot cooler, greener look to it. Sorry if you can hear the trucks out back. Sepia. PBR7, PBK9. This is a pretty classic sepia. Very nice. Gets pretty dark. And we have Caput Mortem, PR102. Very opaque. A lot redder than these other 102s up here, like the Mars and the Venetian. It's like the pigment is heavier in this one. Hematite Violet, PR102 as well. Very opaque. And very heavy looking as well. Sometimes you just need that. And it feels a little more violet-y on that. This one's separating out a little bit. Lots of granulation. Then we go into PBR29 with Iron Chrome Brown. Maybe you can hear the birdies outside. They're chirping away. We had a lot of rain the past few days. So I think all the natural birds out there and everything are really happy to see some sun. This one is also very opaque. Then we have Buff, PW6:1. Great mixing color, handy to have on any palette. This one is very neutral. It doesn't go extremely yellow. Opaque, you can see how it's just covering that right up. Titanium White, PW6. Our classic white pigment. Can make you some nice pastels. This one is pretty good on its opacity to where you might even be able to get a highlight out of it. We'll see how that dries up. Then we go into Shadow Gray. PBR7, PB29, and PV19. This one does have a bluish violet undertone to it, but it called itself gray, so it's down with the grays. I think Roman Szmal does grays and like their Misty Morning and shadow violet and everything. I think they do a spectacular job on these colors. See if we can get that to do stuff. And this is that long Prisberry something gray. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. PB29, PR177, and PG26. And yeah, it's a tongue twister gray. You can see it right next to that other. This one is a little more violet. The shadow gray's a tiny bit more blue. This one has a little bit more red to it. And I hope that's showing on camera so that you can compare the two. And then we have our classic Payne's Gray. PBK9, PB27, and a PR264. And this one is blue based. I'd say almost cool in tone here. You can definitely see the difference between those. I'm really hoping we'll have to get a close-up on those. And then we have neutral tint, which is PB19, PB60, PBK6. And this is a very dark neutral tint. Perfect. Now we're going to go back to those blues that I had skipped up above. All right, the first up of my out of order blues is Phthalo Blue Green Shade, PB15:3. Very vibrant. Then we have Indigo, PBK7, PB60. Nice and dark. Tiny bit too much water there. Wanted to kind of show what it could do, but all right, we'll see how that goes. And we have Cobalt Cerulean, PB36. This one likes to stay a little sticky, more so than a lot of the other ones. There's a few that I noticed just has a little bit more tack to it. And then we have Royal Blue, PB29, PW4, PB15:1. This has quite a bit of opacity to it, great for something like a sky. It's a beautiful color. Cobalt Blue, PB28. Cat hair. The next color is absolutely stunning. PB72 Cobalt Aquarius Blue. And there's just, it's like a grayed out blue. It's absolutely fabulous. Like it's completely different than the other cobalts. Isn't that pretty? Really pretty. It's looking a little brighter on camera. It's actually kind of grayed out. So let's go ahead and take a look at our whole chart. You can see this chunk of blues should have actually been intercepted and up through there. So I could have had it all nice and blended, but you know, I'm completely flawed. So we're going to let these dry. I'll take off the tape. We'll get a closer look. We'll take another look at how I put everything into the palette and the little card I made for that. So I'll see you in a minute. And there she is. I call this one my Motherland palette just because she's got just about every color you can find in the land with tons of earth tones. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a closer look. They're all nice and dry now. Hopefully you didn't mind the smaller squares. I wanted you to see colors next to each other in case you were debating between a couple of colors. Roman Szmal does a beautiful job. And they have about 150 colors in their line, I want to say. This palette will, the way that I kind of redid it, let's move that off to the side. This was my little color chart that I put inside the blank ones. So I can just add. And you can see on here that all the blues, how I messed up the blues, and how everything fits in here with sticky tack and kind of gutting out the palette. See if we zoom out a little bit. And I'm sure I'll find a few more colors to go in these blank spaces on here. I thought I'd go ahead and tell you a few of my favorite colors. The Anthracone Red, the hard to pronounce, the PR168 is a gorgeous red. I do love the Shadow Violet and the Misty Morning. I think the Cobalt Turquoise is really beautiful. The Ocean Blue is just outstanding. I think this Vivianite is a little grayed out. I like mine, I tend to like mine a little bit bluer. For the price, that's a very expensive color, even in Roman Szmal. And then as far as the PY43s go, this Havana Ochre, the Dark Ochre, the Natural Sienna, those are kind of different that you don't normally find in like a yellow ochre. These are more commonly found in the yellow ochre, so maybe something like that might interest you. Their transparent brown is beautiful red undertone. That Blue Ridge Burnt Sienna, really gorgeous. And their neutrals are really beautiful. The Shadow Gray that gray. Really beautiful as well. Their panes is nice, and their neutral tint is a nice one as well. So I think they do those well. They do beautiful earth tones though in general. So if you're looking for some earth tones that are reasonably priced, this is definitely the route. Their new autumn green is really beautiful, and their Aquarius green and their hookers are, this is just a gorgeous line up there. So hopefully those are a few of my favorites in this palette, so hopefully that helps. Another look here. If these videos are helpful to you, you might want to pop a button below and let me know that you're happy seeing it, or get it out to more people that might be interested in pigment information and so forth. And use the perla this time around. There's no place to put it. My desk is too small. And, whoop, just rolled away. So, thank you so much. I know this was a really long video. Hopefully I gave you some comparisons that you were curious about. I appreciate you staying to the end. And you have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.